Alright you guys, well today I have for you kind of an interesting video. This is a 2010 Volkswagen Jetta. Always wanted to show you guys a little bit of an older car, and now I finally got the opportunity. It still looks pretty nice. I always like the design of this Jetta. I don't know if I'd want to own one just because of reliability concerns, but it's a fun little car, honestly. It's got a good spirit to it, like a good energy, I would say. We will pop the hood, show you the engine really quick. Alright, so this is a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder. Pretty interesting. Don't see too many 5-cylinders today, but it makes 170 horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque, paired to a 6-speed automatic. Not much else to really go over here. Looks like a typical engine with a typical engine cover on it, but we'll close up the hood here. It does have a very strong hood strut on it, so that's pretty nice. It's a pretty bare bones car, but at least they gave you a hood strut. We'll pop the trunk. And looking in here, it's actually a pretty decent trunk. Really not too bad. Pretty spacious. I'm actually quite impressed. We'll check underneath here, and you do get a spare tire. Nice to have. But we'll close up the trunk here. We'll try out these back seats. You do get the leather seating in this trim level, which is nice. And back seat is actually not too bad. I could sit back here. Like, my knees are up against the seat, but you just move the seat up a little bit. It's actually not bad. I have enough foot room and everything. You do get vents back here. It's decent back here. It's a pretty good use of space, I would say. But we'll hop into the front seat. This is the key for it, by the way. Typical Volkswagen key from this era. The doors are a little bit squeaky. And a typical key ignition right there. Typical Volkswagen chime. And this car definitely takes you back to a different era. You don't get any fancy screens in here. Really just the basics. Although I will say you do get heated seats in here, which is pretty nice. Other than that though, you know, standard radio, really old school looking. You just get a little tiny screen right here. That's the only screen you get. You know, deal with it. One funny thing about this screen I noticed is if you turn the volume all the way down, it makes a noise. Like, that's kind of funny. I don't really need a sound to know my volume is down, but still kind of a funny quirk right there. But yeah, really not much to go over. Like, very simple radio, your sound settings, your climate controls, heated seats, driver and passenger. You do get your very simple gauges, and yes, there is a check engine light on. This wouldn't be an old Volkswagen if there was no check engine light, so kind of a hallmark. You do get your turn signal stalks and cruise control on the same stalk. Kind of interesting. You turn on the cruise control with this. You use this button to set it. Kind of interesting. You also get your windshield wipers here. It reminds me a bit of an old school Audi in here, just a little bit cheaper looking, but it's got that same aesthetic to it, which is kind of funny. You do get your headlight controls. You only have off and full headlights. No parking lights, no fog lights, nothing like that. You have your gauge cluster dimmer switch. And you do have your shifter for the 6-speed automatic. No backup camera, obviously. You do get a sunroof, which is pretty nice. And you get these typical Volkswagen Audi controls right here. You also get Bluetooth controls, which is pretty nice. But to open the sunroof, you twist this dial, and the dial kind of corresponds to how much you want it to open. You can also tilt it. There's like a few different levels for tilt, which is kind of interesting. I don't see that in too many cars. And you do get a little vent on this sunshade. So if you want like the sunshade closed, but the roof open, you can still get some air in here, which is pretty nice. But we'll just close that. It's a little bit of a non-intuitive control because you have to really, it's hard to see how much it's closed or opened, but yeah, pretty cool. You do get a glove box. It's actually a good size. You do get your trunk opener down here and your fuel opener and a little lockout for the trunk, like a valet mode kind of. You don't really get a center console in here, just a little tray, but that's pretty much it. You do get one 12-volt outlet, but no fancy USB or anything like that in here. It's not like a new car where it comes with like 18 USB ports. Without further ado, let's get this thing out on the road, take it for a drive. Like I said, just driving a car like this really takes you back. There's something really refreshing about driving a car like this that doesn't have all the distractions of a new car. Just driving this around, I generally feel just way more focused on the road. I don't even consider myself a distracted driver, really, but I just feel like in this car, it's just, you have nothing to really do but focus on the road. And it's totally fine. I don't find myself missing anything. But as for the driving experience, you know, it feels very familiar Volkswagen. It reminds me of a new Volkswagen, honestly. They really haven't changed their formula a whole lot, which is kind of surprising. I thought this car was going to feel like super ancient, and to an extent it does. When you just look at this interior, it does feel a little bit ancient, but it's still like very like Volkswagen feeling. Steering is very light. It's very light, but it's really precise, surprisingly, especially for an older car. I really like the precision of this steering. If you've ever driven like a new Volkswagen, like it feels pretty much the same, not gonna lie. I do notice the accelerator has a bit of a learning curve to it. It's one of those accelerators where you do have to shove it a good amount to get moving. Like right now, that was probably like, that was a good amount into the throttle just doing that. It's not like those new cars where just a light tap of the throttle and you're moving. Like this car, you do have to work for it a little bit. We'll try some of the power here. All right. Yeah, it's like a typical Volkswagen engine, really. You know, it's not turbocharged or anything, but it does have that ideal power band to it, I notice. A lot of like Volkswagen engines are really similar with that. They have their like ideal power band where they take off really nicely. Off the line, there's really not much grunt. Like when you step on this from, you know, a dead stop, it does take a bit of time to get moving. Like probably not until like 2,500 RPM you finally start to feel some takeoff from it. But like once it hits that power band, it's actually pretty nice. Really not bad in terms of the power. Just not gonna win drag races, but in terms of your daily commuting, you know, merging, pulling out into traffic, it's pretty good. It's got some good torque to it. It has a nice torquey feel, which I like. I said the accelerator, you do have to shove it once in a while. But once you get used to it, it's actually a pretty nice feel. It feels pretty intuitive, like pretty well connected to the engine. I noticed the suspension feel is a bit rattly. It even sounds a little rattly. Maybe it's not totally free from problems just because of its age. But you know, for a 2010 Volkswagen, I'm actually quite impressed with how good of condition this is in. Brakes are also pretty nice. The pedal is really light, but they respond really well, actually. I really do like the response of them. You really don't have to like press the pedal in too much to stop, and they feel very linear and very natural feeling. Really smooth, like really smooth coasts to a stop. The visibility is really good in here. Like the road in front of you is super clear, like completely unobstructed. The dash is a little bit high up, I find, but that's really not a big deal. That's a little bit of a nitpicky thing, because I feel like I can just see everything in this car. Maybe these mirrors are a little bit tiny, but pretty much everywhere else I can see just fine. Your back window is a little bit small, but I mean, this is generally a small car. Nice smooth ride, pretty quiet in terms of road noise. I'm not hearing really much tire noise or road noise in here, at least not as much as I was expecting. It's all really refined and really precise. Like, it's actually kind of impressive to me. It's not an outright sports car, obviously, but it's definitely a car you can have some fun in, just zipping around. It's a shame these older VWs aren't the most reliable, because they really are pretty fun cars to drive. This transmission is pretty good too. It's pretty smooth. Seems to shift when you want it to. There are times when the shifting can feel a little bit slow between shifts, but it's honestly like a pretty natural feeling transmission. Yeah, like it keeps the engine in its power band really nicely. Yeah, this cheap little Volkswagen really did kind of steal my heart. Did not expect to really enjoy this car as much as I do. It would honestly make a perfect first car, I think. If you're okay with like a little bit of reliability issues, which most people aren't, let's be honest, but like this car is just so easy to drive. I could see it being like perfect for a new driver. All right, looks like we got a clear road. Yeah, nice acceleration and shifting from that transmission. Good handling. Actually, it stays pretty flat around the corner. Steering stays nice and precise. It's not, you know, the heaviest, most sports car feeling steering, but it is very precise and very natural, which I like. You just feel like you can just, you know, plant the car precisely where you want it. Very light feeling car, like really light chassis. Inspires like really good confidence. Feels like safe doing this. Like I said, not a total, like, it's not a Porsche, obviously, but it's a fun car to chuck around. I'm really impressed with it. Brakes are very intuitive when you're slowing down. Smooth ride quality. All right. Alright, looks like we didn't really luck out with getting a clear on-ramp, but that's okay. And still test out the merging ability. Of course, this guy has to be in the right lane. All right. Yeah, you know, once you hit that power band, it does take off pretty good. Just takes a bit of time to get there, I would say. But yeah, once you're on the highway, you know, it moves pretty good. Feels pretty much the same as it does around town, really. Very precise, pretty nimble, nice predictable feeling chassis. Smooth ride going over these expansion joints. Feels kind of fun, actually. Like, just with this like really good visibility, you kind of feel like driving a little go-kart. Alright, we're gonna get back on the highway here. I think we'll have a little more luck testing out the power. My camera did die briefly, but looks like we're back in business here. Very unique sound to this engine. Yeah, and when you rev it, it gets up and goes pretty nicely. And we can just stay in this lane, it looks like, because we're gonna take this next exit. Brakes very smoothly. Alright, you guys. Well, that about covers my review on this Volkswagen Jetta. Very nice, scrappy little commuter car, really. Zips around really nicely. It's pretty fun to drive. It's pretty bare bones in terms of features, but I don't find myself missing much, personally. You get the essentials, you know, you get heated seats and a sunroof. You get these nice leather seats, too. These seats are like pretty comfortable. I really can't complain too much. I can tell it's not mechanically perfect, but I have really thoroughly enjoyed driving this. And even the ride quality is really good. Everything's very simple to operate. And like I said, you know, sometimes driving this, I even wish I had a little car like this. You know, just the bare bones, like, gives you the essentials. There's something to be said. But we're gonna hop out. All right, thanks for watching.